Hey everybody, it's Minolta 1034 here, and I wanted to talk to you today a little bit about Halo. But, you want to watch something too, so I have this sweet Valentine's Day doubles gameplay for you to feast your eyeballs on while I yak at you for a bit. So what I wanted to talk to you guys about today was, it's not actually about, well, it is about Halo, but it's actually about another game that I play probably just about as much as Halo, that I got into when, let's say, Halo 4 came out, and get wrecked. When Halo 4 came out, it wasn't quite as good, it wasn't really holding my attention as much, and so I started to get into League of Legends. League of Legends, if you don't know, is a MOBA game, which is kind of a new genre that's coming out lately. It's very, very popular. It's one of the most popular games in the world right now. And I think it's really fun. And the reason that I got into it was because I was looking for something to fill my time that kind of reminded me of a similar gameplay experience. I wanted something multiplayer, something that was, 5v5, and something that was, balanced, took skill, sort of an arena feel, all of that, the good stuff that I like from Halo. I tried a bunch of different first-person shooters, but I've never found a shooter that's as good as Halo in terms of multiplayer, and so that's what actually ended up bringing me to League of Legends. I said, I wanted something that was multiplayer and fun, but something that wouldn't have me constantly saying like, oh, I just wish this was Halo. Like if I'm playing Call of Duty or one of the other big FPSs, usually I'm just thinking, oh, I wish that I had a battle rifle, or why aren't these rockets working the way that I want them to, or that kind of thing. League of Legends entered my life through my buddy Anthrax, the Halo kid. He kind of recommended it to me, as well as Naked Eli. I'm sure you guys know him, the famous Halo speedrunner, and some other friends of ours. And I started to get into the game, and I actually really enjoyed it. And I found that there were actually large parts of the game that reminded me a lot of Halo. And I think that's why I got into it, because it was that replacement for the game for me.
Blue team gained the lead.
You guys are probably saying to me, Halo, League, it's similar. What are you talking about, Minolta? These are two totally different genres of games. And I know what you're saying. Yes, an FPS versus a MOBA, mechanically, these games are completely different. And so what I'm talking about is more from like a general overall game level, not the specific nitty gritty of like how you do damage to your opponent versus, like if you're holding a gun and that kind of stuff. That's not what I'm talking about. It's more like general game design concepts that drive both of these experiences and how they're similar. So to start off with, both Halo and League follow that sort of arena mentality, right? And so the idea is that you come into the game and everyone's equal, right? You all start off with the same, whether it's Halo, the same weapons, or whether it's League, the same amount of gold, all that stuff. And the details of the game, for the most part, are available for everybody. All of that knowledge is out there, and you can access it, if you need to know what the enemy team is building, or, if somebody has a bunch of kills or something like that, you can just bring up the score screen. You can bring things up and figure that information out.
Red team gained the lead.
So both League and Halo share that sort of arena feel where everybody's on an equal footing to start with. Although the place that League sort of differentiates from Halo is that obviously as you get stronger in League, the more kills you get and all of that stuff, you do end up being stronger overall. Whereas with Halo, your bullets don't do more damage. The more kills you have, that would be kind of ridiculous. And so there are aspects of the game where this analogy does fall apart. But I do strongly feel that the fact that both games are sort of arena based, that there's no external factors that are acting on the game. You can't like all of a sudden call in, like a nuclear bomb down on the enemy team in League or in Halo or any of that stuff. It's relatively balanced in that fashion, and so I think that's something that both of those games share. And man, that guy, he did not see me coming at all. The next thing about League that I love when I compare it to Halo is actually your time to kill. Now, the League of Legends times to kill are very, very long. Especially early on in the game before you've gained some power and bought some items and stuff like that. In League, it takes a long, long time to kill your opponent, and you have to really, really pick your moment. That's the whole thing, is that like you're sort of trading back and forth. It's a constant battle, and then you spot that moment of weakness and you go in. And that's what actually really reminds me of a great BR or battle in Halo. Is you got to go back and forth, and you're trying to trade and pick off the guy, and then all of a sudden you're like a shot up, and you can take that gamble and boom, blow that guy up and win the fight. I love that about Halo. I don't like Call of Duty and other games like that where all of a sudden you're just dead, like where it's like 2 shots and you're toast. Don't get me wrong, I love a little SWAT. I love a quick time to kill every now and again, but I like chances to respond. When I fight somebody, I want to go toe-to-toe with them. Skill-based combat, right? I want to put my skills up against yours. Are you as good at BRing me as I am at BRing you? Do you have, it's the same thing in League of Legends. It's, can you 1v1 me? Can we trade off? Can we fight like this? And I love that aspect of the game. I think it's super great to have a really solid 1v1 battle, like what I just did to that dude with the rockets there, where I just totally slammed him midair. That was an outplay, and that's great. Like that's the thing, is that I feel like I completely outplayed that person. Like he came around, he had rockets, he thought that he could get me, but no, I said no. I'm gonna ground pound here. He didn't see that coming, and that's the same thing with League. Is I love that ability to like read a player and figure out what they're gonna do, and then try to play against that. And when you do get it right and you do pull off something like that, it's extremely rewarding. And Halo and League, I feel I get that exact same feeling. Whether it's with Halo when you're planning something out and you wait around a corner and you like ninja a guy or something like that, it doesn't matter. That 1v1 battle is so important to me. I love that aspect of the game, whether it's Halo or League or whatever. Multiplayer, that's a huge part of it for me. And so League really offered that to me. And so that's another thing that I loved, is I love, going into lane and just 1v1ing somebody. But at the same time, a game's not all about 1v1. And the biggest thing, the thing that I love doing more than anything, and I guess you could probably guess that, is playing games with friends. I'm not streaming solo that much. I'm streaming with Wardog and Greenskull. We're doing the main streamers, right? And so that's the other thing that League really offers, I think, is like just great, awesome team play.
Blue team halfway to victory.
So how would I compare the team play between, let's say Halo and League of Legends? Well, this is the thing, is that it is a little bit complicated, right? Because with League of Legends, you have objectives like Baron and Dragon that give your team buffs or gold or things like that, an advantage in the game. And those are really strong, but they operate a little bit differently than the objectives that you end up finding over in a Halo game. Now, obviously, in some Halo games, the objective games are literal objectives like the flag or the bomb or something like that. However, in this scenario, I'm pretty much referring to Slayer usually. I mean, obviously the whole Halo experience, and League does have different game modes just like Halo does, and that's nice. It's got a little bit of flexibility there, but it's really, in a Slayer game, I consider one of the things that I like about Halo is that the power weapons almost act as objectives, right? I mean, let's all think about back to Halo 3, the pit. Rockets spawn, everybody knows you got to go up to the rocket hall and fight over the rockets. That's the opening objective that you fight over, and you time that so that when the rockets come up so that you can fight over them again. And the exact same thing occurs in League of Legends. The whole thing is that the Baron and the Dragon spawn, and they spawn at certain times. Everyone knows when they're coming up and stuff like that, just like how they've done in Halo 5, and the fight occurs over them. That was another thing that really reminded me of Halo when I got into League, is we'd get into these Baron or Dragon fights and I'd be like, geez, this is exactly like we're fighting over the rockets or the overshield or some other power weapon sort of thing in Halo. And so that's what I really liked, is that ability to coordinate with your team around power weapons, as well as you know, just the straight up 1v1 duels and battles. And that's the thing, is that not only do you don't have to be playing with, and this is another thing that it's great about Halo and League, is that those objectives are so clearly defined, and it's very ingrained into the player base. You understand that, and so even when you do, you know, play with somebody who's not your friend, you know, if I'm not playing with the mainstreamers, you know, even when you guys play online, you still, your teammates understand that they have to rush rockets mostly. I mean, obviously some people are new or some people mess up, but for the most part, people get it. You know, you got to rush rockets, you got to move for Baron or Dragon, and both games have that sort of, those objectives, those power weapons, those timers. That flow exists in the game where everyone gets together, they come apart, you know, that objective focus, and then, you know, you get the Slayer and everything like that. Obviously Halo is a little bit more focused on kills and everything, but the similarities are there. Like I said, just because one's an FPS and one's a MOBA doesn't mean that the overall game dynamics, the you know, the deep structure of the game, however you want to refer to it, it shares very similar traits. Now, here's the one thing where League and Halo sort of differentiate, and this is something that I know that a lot of people have complained to me about, and I guess I'd like to share my opinions about exactly why the League of Legends does this, and how I think it still relates to Halo. Absolutely is still something that relates to Halo, especially with what 343 is doing with Halo 5. Now, when Halo 5 came out, 343 said, hey, we're going to be releasing our DLC, you know, new maps every month, all this stuff, and it's all free to the community. Every month a new map and all this stuff, and it's been great, right? I mean, it totally expands your matchmaking experience. Nobody's getting stuck into those DLC-only playlists that we used to have with Bungie and stuff like that. It's great. I really love it. And the thing is that League of Legends does not have maps, right? Like, that's the thing, is that League of Legends is a little bit more like a basketball court. You know, it all takes place on Summoner's Rift, and so there isn't multiple maps. There is multiple maps for a few different game types and stuff, but the main game, the main thing that I'm referring to is, of course, Summoner's Rift, League of Legends, and that takes place on the same map every single match. And that might sound boring, but again, it's like, is basketball taking place on the same court every match boring? No, it's not, right? And so the whole thing is that it's consistent. But what they do to keep it changed up, and what they do to keep things interesting, and where I think the similarity to Halo lies, is that instead of releasing new maps or map packs like Bungie or 343 is doing, they release new champions. So the map is the same every time, but you have to learn these brand new champions. So anyone that's familiar with Halo knows that when a DLC map pack comes out, it's a little bit tough. You know, you gotta learn the new map, you gotta learn the callouts, the spawns, all of that stuff. It's complicated, right? And just like that with League, you gotta learn when a new champion comes out, you gotta learn the new kit, what you do, how to fight them, all of that stuff. So even though there's no map difference in League of Legends, they get around that by releasing these champions. So technically, I consider, if you want to talk in Halo terms, League of Legends has like over 100 maps, because the game's been out for like 6 years now, and so there's all of these different champions, and they allow you to oh man, I can't believe I got wrecked so bad there. I totally missed the melee. But all these different champions allow you to have a totally different experience, like a completely different League of Legends game experience, where all your abilities, everything is different each match. It's always on the same map. And that's really cool, right? And so whereas Halo, you know, your guns and everything like that are what's consistent, and the maps are what changes. With League, it's the map that stays consistent, and your powers and abilities that are changing. And that's what makes the game so challenging, is that you have to know and understand all of these different champions. Just like with Halo, you have to know all the maps and know all the callouts in order to operate within multiplayer, right? In order to properly know where the power is, where people are going to post up, all of that stuff. Just the same thing with League. You have to know all the champions and what they do in order to fight them and you know, like, properly battle them out. It's just the way that it goes. And so that's another thing that I think Halo and League have in common, is that when that new content comes out, whether it's a new map that you need to learn all the callouts to and how it flows and where all the power weapons are, or it's a new champion, you need to learn how the QWER stuff works and all of their abilities and how their kit is set up. Either way, that content is what keeps the game fresh. Ooh, and here it is, the overtime victory. This guy challenged and it was over. Well, thanks a lot for watching this video, guys. I hope that you enjoyed my list of why League and Halo are sort of similar, and I hope you liked this intense Valentine's Day doubles comeback train. My name's Minolta1034, and I will see you next time. This promotional image that's showing everybody kind of what's going on, while blurring out some of the key details, of course. Taking a look at the picture, we can see that in this update, we're going to get 4 new legendary armor sets, 1 ultra rare armor set, and 1 uncommon armor